Debate at 9. Presented by Greenply E0. Powered by General Air Conditioners, Star Health Insurance and MPL.
Good evening, viewers. For the past 2 months, India has been fighting the COVID fight. And as we've been fighting this COVID fight, there have been some states that have shown a plateau of the trend. Some states, however, still show an upward stance. What is the way ahead? How is India going to win this battle? And what are we really looking at? That's what we're going to look at. I'm Ridhumanan Bhardwaj. Before that, we're going to tell you what the headlines are. Before we discuss this with our expert panel, we're also going to tell you what we have today in store for you. Let's tell you debate number one, rather the discussion number one today is going to be on India shows a plateau. What is up ahead for India in some of the states that are showing a downward trend and some of the states that still show an upward trajectory. And at 10 p.m. India, what are the ground reports that are coming in? We tell you the ground truth from across India. And here are the headlines this Friday evening on the debate. India records 4.14 lakh new cases in 24 hours. Prime Minister Modi briefed by 7 chief ministers on the ground situation in the last 48 hours. Government task force warns on the third wave, says impact can be avoided if right measures are taken now. As Karnataka witnesses an upward trajectory in cases, Chief Minister extends the lockdown in the state. From Army to Navy to IAF, warlike efforts by forces help India fight the unprecedented COVID crisis. And MHA's 4-member team visits violence-hit regions of Bengal, meets governor to discuss the situation. India has been fighting the COVID fight. There are some states that are showing a plateauing of the state and the region. The COVID numbers are coming down. However, in some states, the number is taking on an alarming trend. What is very clear is India, as of now, cannot be complacent.
The DRDO COVID Centre in Lucknow discharged its first patient who was treated by Armed Forces medical personnel. The Indian Air Force is docking essential medical supplies across India. And the Navy warships are carrying oxygen generators from across the world to India. With all hands on deck, India is determined to beat the second wave of COVID. Prime Minister Modi is taking stock of the situation at zone level. In 48 hours, he has spoken to chief ministers of 7 states and lieutenant governors of 2 union territories. Because while some states have shown a sharp spike in cases in over a week, and the states that were most impacted till last month are now witnessing a downward trend.
ये जो स्टेट्स इस स्लाइड में हैं वो ऐसे स्टेट्स हैं जहां की केसेस बढ़ रहे थे लेकिन अब धीरे धीरे प्लेटो हो रहे हैं. ये राज्य हैं महाराष्ट्र, उत्तर प्रदेश, दिल्ली, राजस्थान, छत्तीसगढ़, गुजरात, मध्य प्रदेश, तेलंगाना एवं झारखंड.
But the government panel has warned that just because some states are doing well, it doesn't mean that we can let our guard down.
If we take strong measures, the third wave may not happen in all the places or indeed anywhere at all. It depends much on how effectively the guidance is implemented at the local level, in the states, in districts and in the cities everywhere. The guidance about precautions, about surveillance, about containment and about treatment and about testing. This insidious asymptomatic transmission can be stopped if we follow the guidance.
because it is only with strict measures that we can halt or minimize the effect of a possible third wave.
It is important for us to really aggressively push for regional and lockdowns that are happening, and they should be there for at least 2 weeks so that we can break the chain of transmission and thereby bring down the number of cases.
India is taking the challenge head-on, and with warlike efforts in place, we can unitedly overcome the crisis. Let's debate.
Let me now welcome on the debate my experts who are joining us today to tell us the way ahead, because viewers, it's not the time to be complacent, and they're going to explain to us how we have to proceed ahead to ensure there is no third wave. I'm joined on the panel today by Dr. Sunil Kumar, Director General for Health Services, Government of India, Dr. Anil Bhoraskar, diabetologist from Asian Heart Institute, Rahija Hospital and Asian Cancer Hospital, Dr. Arun Chopra, Director of Cardiology, Fortis Escorts Hospital from Amritsar, Dr. Shailesh Shrikhande, Deputy Director and Professor, Head Cancer Surgery, Tata Memorial Hospital, Dr. Karan Madan, Senior Pulmonologist at AIIMS, and also R.K. Mishra, Non-Resident Scholar at Carnegie, India. I thank all our guests for being with us, and I'll first go across to Dr. Sunil Kumar, Director General for Health Services, Government of India. Dr. Kumar, you would be knowing that all efforts are now being made by the government. We've also seen that Centre has cautioned on a possible third wave. Even as I'll give out the figures, 11.81 lakh doses viewers have been given to the 18 to 44 age category. The total of 16.5 crore doses have also been administered in India. Today, the Health Ministry has categorically said, Dr. Kumar, in places like Maharashtra, UP, Delhi, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Gujarat, MP, Telangana, Jharkhand, there's a continued plateau in cases. Are we in the right direction, and how should we ensure that there is no complacency now?
Yes, we are, as far as these states are concerned, we are observing the plateau, and therefore it appears that the lockdown measures or the other measures which are stricter measures to break the chain are working, are giving us the desired result. And therefore, still, we cannot be complacent about by bringing down the measures or by allowing once again for the cases to rise, or we cannot show complacency in terms of laxation for the healthcare setup that we have to address. Our preparations for the healthcare and the health system must continue. In fact, it should continue at a larger scale, at a stronger footnote, and we should be very watchful regarding the trends. The trends, whatever trends are going down, may all of a sudden trend can go up. Therefore, we should be very, very careful. And the steps which are giving us the desired result, we never change them. The winning horse is never changed mid-race. So we should be very careful about these two things.
What is also the way ahead, Dr. Kumar, if we have to see the Prime Minister is also taking the correct measures as of now, trying to ensure that he's having all the important meetings. So what is the way ahead when it comes to the government measures that need to be taken?
The first priority should always be given to two things. First is the preparation for the cases or the tentatively third wave that we may be witnessing. That may or may not happen, I must say that. The second thing which we should pay attention is to ongoing vaccination. The people must be vaccinated, and the vaccination should proceed in a bigger manner, in a much more regular manner, in a much more regulated manner, because this is going to be the one which would be the game changer which can break the cycle. So these are the two areas where I would say these are the effective areas. The rest of them will be short-term measures, like we want to impose some strict measures depending upon what is happening in one particular district or a particular state. There you might impose some kind of restriction on the movement, but that is only a temporary. It is not a long-term solution. The long-term solutions are the COVID appropriate behavior. Number one, healthcare system must be prepared, must be made strong. Third, the vaccination must continue on a stronger footing.
Absolutely. That's a very important point that you've said when it comes to vaccination. And I also want to now go across to Dr. Arun Chopra, who's also joining us. A very good evening to all my panelists. And like he spoke about, Dr. Chopra spoke about vaccinations being critical. Today, the government has also come out and said on the COVID app there will be a registration number and also a 4-digit verification number that will be given to people. Isn't it clear with such measures that the government is in action mode when it's identified 581 sites also for setting up pressure swing absorption medical oxygen plants in various states? The government is now understanding it's not the time for complacency.
Absolutely, I agree. This is hardly the time for complacency. We are at the moment peaking. We may not actually be at the peak of this wave of the pandemic, and therefore all that the government is doing and more is needed to control this wave. And in this regard, I totally agree with what Dr. Sunil just said before me, that vaccination, continuation of masking and social distancing is the way to go. Lockdowns would be ideal, but unfortunately they cannot be long term. They must be very restricted and in areas where they are most needed. In general, we must invoke these other three measures to control this second wave and to sort of, get over the agony of the patients. We have to, at the moment, activate as many hospital beds as possible and provide sufficient supply of oxygen and the much needed drugs that are needed to treat these patients. And these would all go a long way in taking care of the agony of the patients and in controlling the second wave.
Absolutely. I also wanted to, therefore, like you're saying, cut across to understand the plateau that's happened and also go across to Dr. Shailesh Srikhande, who's also joining us from Mumbai, the Tata Memorial Hospital. Dr. Srikhande, this is a clear indication that vaccines work. There is also a new vaccine that's coming in, Sputnik, but also the single-dose vaccine that has to have 80% efficacy, like Russia says. It's likely to be produced in India, Sputnik Light. They say it's been approved for use. Isn't India now in a better position to also meet vaccine targets that we had set out for ourselves?
Well, I think this is not an easy question when we look at a country of 1.3 billion. Having said that, I think this second wave has caught administrators as well as doctors as well as the lay people a little off guard and unawares. As a result of which, it served as a very good wake-up call for all these stakeholders to come in and try to see what best can be done to contain this second wave and also get ready to prevent or minimize the impact if at all we get a third wave. To answer your question specifically about the vaccination bit, it's obvious we have got enough data coming in from all over the world and our own data from within India that we are having vaccines which are effective in the circumstances, and therefore I think it's important, the previous panelists have also told you, that we clearly need to ramp up as much as we can, and if I dare say use the word war footing in terms of vaccine production and then vaccine delivery, which has to be judiciously done to encourage as much vaccination as possible. Now, if you get effective vaccines from other players, whereby even a single shot or efficacy of close to 80% or above, any vaccine is worthwhile based on the kind of studies that have come in from Russia, from Oxford, as well as the other vaccines that are available. So clearly we need to be doing that without ignoring the three basics of fighting this particular pandemic. But I should add one last bit. We do see a plateau, we do see some rays at the end of the tunnel, all right. But I think we also need to look at the healthcare of those who are the vulnerable population. So we need to have a clearly defined strategy as to how we want to go about systematically trying to immunize and protect and safeguard people. Not only that, you perhaps need to focus on vaccination of your frontline workers, because otherwise you really have a problem where the healthcare system is overwhelmed, and then you will struggle to have even frontline healthcare workers. So I think there are multiple players who need to come in together, and then we will hopefully get better, just the way we are starting to get better in Mumbai and Maharashtra and some other states. I'm sure I'll see the same change across the nation.
Yes, Dr. Shekhande, you've touched upon a very critical point, and I want to take that to Mr. R.K. Mishra, non-resident scholar who's joining us from Bangalore. He's from Carnegie, India. Dr. Shekhande has made a very critical point here. Maharashtra is definitely doing better. It's also something we've seen Supreme Court talking about. And I also want to point out to Karnataka today. The Karnataka government, Mr. Mishra, had come, in fact, the central government had come to the Supreme Court and said that we wanted the Karnataka's medical oxygen supply to be stayed as whatever the Karnataka High Court had said. But Karnataka is seeing a lot of positivity rate. In fact, to take on from Dr. Shekhande's point, we cannot let our guards down. The positivity rate has risen from 21.4% to 22.68%. The recovery rate has slipped somewhere. How do we ensure that the infrastructure is built up? And also, how do we ensure our frontline workers are taken care of, because this is something that is topmost in everyone's mind, sir?
So I think not just Karnataka and Bangalore and every other state, what we saw in Delhi, for example, doctors have said what medically and what, from an epidemiologist point of view or virologist point of view. Let me talk a little bit from administration point of view. A lot of people did not die because of corona. Many people died because of they could not reach the hospital, or they could not get bed in the hospital, or they did not have the medical oxygen or the remdesivir and things like that. None of the state governments, none of the city governments were prepared either with their war rooms or with their dashboards where everybody could figure out what is going. I'll tell you exactly what's happening in Bangalore. And I think this crisis is almost come up as a wake-up call. So Bangalore essentially has a dashboard. As you might have seen, there had been report that it wasn't functioning. There were glitches. In fact, there was manipulation also, it is alleged. And when system is running at, bursting at its seams, if your command and control system doesn't work, there'll be panic. And when there is a panic, there'll be chaos. And with the chaos, there'll be death and destruction. And this is what happened. A lot of people died. Not it was because of COVID. I think they died because of lack of availability of the hospitals, beds and things like that. Now, in this crisis, for example, so far, in Bangalore, we have managed with the oxygen. And I just can tell certain things. Karnataka is importing, for example, on its own, 8 cryogenic containers from Singapore. Karnataka is going to run a train from Kalinga to Bangalore. Karnataka is revamping completely. It will be one of the best, I guess, in the industry. And in fact, we better do it because it's supposed to be IT capital of India, where we'll have the public will see online availability of every possible bed in the city. They will see their queue number, at what queue they are. We do not want patients coming from their homes, what we saw in Delhi, queuing in front of the hospital and dying in their ambulances and things like that. And this dashboard will also tell each bed how much oxygen they have. In fact, what happens, doctors are very good at treating the patient, but they are not very good at measuring how much oxygen is left. Suddenly, somebody finds out there's only 1 hour or 2 days because these patients in critical conditions are consuming a lot of oxygen. So all this, if it is done systematically, hopefully you will see within 48 hours to 1 week, Bangalore will have a world-class management system, governance and management system of this disease, which other cities or other states potentially can benefit from. We are working hard at it. We are working 24/7. I am deeply involved. I'm coordinating that effort. And I would say doctors are doing their best. Vaccination, we goofed up because our government did not invest into R&D. America did Operation Warp Speed, where they funded the R&D into vaccine. Our government not only not funded, they did not even put the purchase order. And that was a mistake. I hope people realize during the crisis, you should not look at the cheapest and the best. You should invest your money where you think they get maximum benefit. Now we don't have the capacity. India should have been the exporter of vaccine to the world by creating capacity in last June to November. In fact, now we're importing the vaccine. But I think lessons have been learned. Everybody in the system I speak to, he understands. So I'm sure doctors are doing amazing job. Problem is our system failed, and because there was no system at all. We thought Corona is over. We had Holi, we had Kumbh, we had rallies. I think everybody's woken up, but there's no point finger pointing. I don't like my friends who are finger pointing. The government should have done better. They are equally smart people. They were partying. They were going to Goa. They were attending the marriages. So no prime minister, no chief minister, no bureaucrat is more smart than us. We all failed. It is a collective failure as a nation. And I think we are paying the price. Hopefully, we will be better prepared.
Yes, that's a positive note that we have to be better. There is no error, and there is no room for complacency here. Dr. Karan Madan, senior pulmonologist for AIIMS, is also with us. Dr. Madan, we've spoken about the errors, but we also need to look at the productivity rate here. The government is trying now to have fast-track approvals for global manufacturers, whether it's of oxygen cylinders, cryogenic tankers. This is one of the problems we are seeing in the capital. You're at AIIMS. We've also seen oxygen plants are being set up. But the larger picture here is not only about the capital, or like doctors were speaking about, this is not about Karnataka or just Maharashtra, but as a nation, our infrastructure needs to be built up to ensure there is no third wave. How do you think we'll be able to manage that?
You see, one thing which the virus has taught us, that the degree of unpredictability it has. So this is a highly transmissible agent. It mutates also. The more it multiplies, the more cases happen, the more it has chances to, mutate and multiply. What it has told us that, taught us also that if you let this virus go unchecked and multiply, that is, you don't follow the COVID appropriate behavior, the number of cases you get is like a chain reaction, and that is so much that it can overwhelm any system which is, existent. And then the problem which you have is it's not just about the ICU beds and the doctors. You can set up more ICU beds, you can put more beds, but critically ill patients are very difficult to manage, and that kind of infrastructure to get ready overnight is very difficult for any kind of system. So one thing which we need to realize very importantly is that vaccination is one of the most important strategy. Vaccination will be required, but it is not a shortcut for not taking COVID appropriate behavior. The vaccines prevent severe illness. You'll find not many people falling very sick once they've taken the vaccine, but you'll find many cases of who still get COVID positive after getting a vaccine. This means that they are not getting a severe disease, but they can still get infected and still, transmit the disease to other people. So the only thing which works 100% is a mask, and your social distancing and your hand hygiene. So those things have to be done. You mentioned about, the infrastructural aspects. It has also taught us that we need to be prepared better. By that, we mean that we need to have a sufficiently large capacity to have the care of moderate to severe patients. You see, it's not the mild patients which, strain our system so much. The ones who have some fever or some cough, and those who would 85% who would recover. But then the absolute number, the 10% which you have, say if you talk about Delhi, a 10% of, a 20 to 30,000 cases which come, and suddenly the cumulative load for moderate severe goes so high that it can overwhelm your system. So I think we need to have preparedness for moderate severe management, and we always need to reinforce the COVID appropriate behavior, which has to at least continue for the coming 1 year. And then only I think we can have a control over this, situation.
A very crucial point that you've made there, Dr. Madan, that it is needing to be there for at least the next year. So this is also why India needs to wake up to the reality, the new normal, like it was said by doctors on our show only, that we have to be wearing that double mask. I also asked Dr. Anil Boraskar here, we are talking about vaccines, we are talking about the productivity rate. How can we let our guard down, Dr. Boraskar, when right now there are 9 states that have reported a positivity rate between 10 to 20%? This is the time India needs to know our forces have got together, whether it's the army, whether it's the navy or the air force, hospital beds are being put up. Oxygen supply is being given also by our forces. This is the time to wake up and to ensure that our new normal, like Dr. Madan is also talking about, is continued to be followed.
Yeah, I'm glad all these authorities who have brought out very, very valid points, all of them, and by me repeating it does not make any sense, which I would like to add something which possibly has been overlooked, in the sense, what is the responsibility of an individual before he gets COVID positive? First is, of course, COVID appropriate behavior. He has to wear a mask. And the most important, the symptomatology has to be taught to everybody, that what are the warning signals in spite of RT-PCR negative, which are the people should be subjected to CT scan. There is no point in doing CT scan in every patient. I must tell you that our diagnosis of RT-PCR sometimes can be false negative. Very rarely it is false positive. And that is a time where you have to train every person is what are the early signs and symptoms that you should look for. It's not necessary that everybody's oxygen saturation will drop. Not everybody's 5 minutes walk test will become positive. Not everybody will have a GI symptoms. There are so many different symptoms are coming up, and one has to consider everybody to be trained, taught that look for this. And this can happen to anybody. This can happen to 5-star areas, this can happen to towers, it can happen to slums. Fortunately, in Mumbai, we are very lucky to see there is a herd immunity which has set in Jhoppadpatti. But tower now becoming seat of this infection, and one has to understand why this is happening. It is because there are some lapses which are on the part of the patients, which they have to be taught continuously. All these authorities have talked what the administration should do, what people should do, what are the oxygen bed, oxygen desaturation, how much oxygen per person is required. Everything is scientifically correct. But what is in the hand of a common man? That is the behavior. And the behavior has to change from all sides. You must look enough to learn music, to learn fine art, to remain complacent and happy in an environment. You should not be complacent that you don't have it. You should understand what is adhyatmic power, and you should develop that. You should meditate. You should do deep breathing exercises. You should sukshma pranayam. These are all protective. What protects you against this disease is your lung compliance. You must do prone ventilation by doing this 10 minutes of sukshma pranayam, because you have to ventilate your basic lung. 1/3 of the oxygenation takes place anteriorly, 2/3 takes place posteriorly. We have to develop our posterior part of the lungs, and that can happen in prone position ventilation program. And this can be done by everybody. Don't wait for a COVID symptom come positive and only start, which I wish to bring it to your notice, because all the authorities have covered the other topics so well. I did not want to repeat it, but this is something new which I want to tell you, that's something the patient can do himself. And thank you very much for giving me an opportunity amongst all these stalwarts to express my clinical common sense, which has so far helped me in my practice. Thank you.
Yes, in fact, Dr. Sunil Kumar, I also want to ask you, like we're talking about this, when the rate of new COVID infections was plateauing in the United States in March, the country put the focus on the mutant strain B117 and worked to counter it, like our guests are telling us. Shouldn't India also be using this period to study and restrain the mutant virus and the mutant versions of the virus?
I tell you, is nothing but like the virus is changing his shirt. The virus keeps on changing his shirt, and it will keep on mutating, because that is a Srushti's law. You can't help it. A same virus cannot behave in the same fashion. and they have an ability to keep on changing these shirts, and we have to keep on finding different methodology to overcome that. But again, what is permanent is the common sense medicine, which does not change, which is forever the same. The mutation will definitely take place. You have to look for different vaccines. You have to find out the nasal spray, which shows a very promising result, because that's the way the virus enters. That's the way you overcome it, by taking a vaccine through the nasopharynx. But these are all changes which will bound to happen. This will have one mutation, second mutation, third mutation. You will have 10 mutations by the end of July. And one should be prepared for it. I don't think the preparation is based on types of different vaccines. There are 52 players in the vaccine game. And more people will come because they will realize that this particularly strain is more susceptible to this vaccine. We have to accept it. But what is permanent is the behavior of the Janata, which should be more sensible, and a lot of sense has to be taught to my great citizens of this country, and avoid overcrowding. There is no need to go to bazaar. 5 people from the family go same time to bazaar. Don't crowd the places. Don't crowd unnecessarily. Keep a social distance. 6 foot, absolutely important, because that's the reach of a virus which goes in even talking. The patient may not be coughing. He's asymptomatic.
No,
but the virus can
yes,
be...
yes, Dr. Buraskar. Yes. And Dr. Sunil Kumar, I also wanted to take this question to you. I also wanted to understand from you, at a time when the government is trying its best now to counter the situation. And like I asked, isn't the centre focused on this fight, with the Prime Minister is also reviewing the healthcare responses state-wise, district-wise? Will the cases not plateau when the centre has distributed 24 different categories of items that are totaling 40 lakh pieces of COVID-19 relief material? This is received from foreign countries to 38 institutions in different states and UTs, sir.
What's the question?
Sir, I'm asking, with the kind of preparedness now that the government is doing, isn't it time and isn't it possible now that this particular virus, this particular COVID-19 will plateau, like we are seeing in some states it's already done?
No.
We've seen that 24 different categories of items that are totaling...
No, just a minute. See, these are for treatment of the patients. This is to strengthen our healthcare delivery system. It has nothing to do with the preparation. The preparation still remains by way of a COVID appropriate behavior. People have forgotten. I must tell you, I must bring to your notice through your channel, to the notice of everyone, which I have observed, is that we have forgotten this self-reporting. Extremely important. This was very, very important in the first wave. We used to report, we used to ask, are you all right? And people used to say voluntarily, yes, I am not well, or I am well and I am reporting for the duty. Today, I have seen people are reporting, and then you sit in the driver in the car with the driver, and the driver at the end of half an hour later, you ask him, why are you silent? He says, sir, आज मेरी तबीयत थोड़ी ठीक नहीं है. मेरे को थोड़ा fever हो रहा है. Why did you come if you are not well? People have forgotten. This kind of a behavior is unacceptable. I have observed it n number of times. In fact, I have stopped going by car. I have started driving my bicycle to my office for this very reason. Number one. Number two, similar thing is happening. We have forgotten one more thing. You see, for every sick patient, whether the patient is mild, whether it is the patient is moderately ill or is severely ill, we have forgotten that the patient was in contact with the close relatives for a significant period of time. Those patients were, future patients were totally forgotten. They were not tested, or they did not come for testing. And therefore, they continued to be the spreaders. We are talking about the Mahakumbh. We are talking about many other markets. We are talking about gatherings. We are talking about marriages. But we are not talking about this particular person surrounded by 4 other relatives who never went for the testing, or who remained going to the market in search of the drugs, or going with the patient in the auto, another driver is also here, or in the car, and then coming in contact and not wearing the mask because there is a panic. So they all are spreading the virus, and they already are patient. Tomorrow, a few days later, this particular person will be coming with the viral symptoms and the COVID problem. And the third thing was that we have forgotten about certain basic things, like, for example, we are not wearing the mask properly. Forget about double masking. I said you wear the single mask properly. That is good quality surgical mask. That is itself is a good sufficient law. There is no evidence that double mask will protect you. One cloth inside or surgical mask outside, or this surgical mask inside and the cloth outside, or the N95 combination. This and please do not go into this complexity. The simplest thing is wear it properly, change it every day. Do not wash and use it. Don't, please. And if it falls down, or if you leave it on the surface, and you try to speak without the mask, or prolong your exposure by unnecessarily going to the gatherings which are not required and leaving your mask down. It is absolutely wrong behavior. This is what is leading to the spread of the virus. Rather than the supplies which are coming are going to strengthen our healthcare system, or the vaccine production, maybe. But it is not about they are not going to prevent. What is going to prevent are these simple measures. We must not forget these measures. These measures must be undertaken meticulously, and the vaccine must be taken meticulously. Only these are the two important measures which will prevent the corona third wave or fourth wave or whatever we call. It will keep on mutating. There is no doubt about it. Forget about the mutation. Mutation is for scientists. It's not for common people. People have become doctors. People are indulging in the self-medication, self-diagnosis, self-blood investigation, self-CT scan, self-remdesivir. I get thousands of calls. मेरे लिए आज tocilizumab arrange कर दो. मेरे लिए आज remdesivir. They are not helpful at all. Please, simple measures are going to be the one which are going to be effective. So simple COVID appropriate behavior, go for vaccine apnaiye. These are the two most important things. Thank you.
Chalo, I'm going up.
Very, very well said, Dr. Kumar, because that is the need of the hour. And this is self-medication, viewers, ladies and gentlemen, that should not be done. I also want to ask Dr. Srikhande this. Dr. Srikhande, we've seen in Maharashtra that there has been a very positive move where we've seen the numbers come down. But what would your advice, like Dr. Kumar has been telling us, be to people who are self-medicating, and also some people by their own desires are asking questions? They also write it to us and they say, should we even go in for a vaccine right now because it is so dangerous to go out? What should their answers be to such people when vaccines is the clear need of the hour?
Well, I think it is just programs like these, as well as the media, which is going to play a major role, because we've had a large number of programs where it's very obvious from the rest of the world, as well as from experts in India, that vaccination is going to be the way forward. We heard from everyone that this virus is a smart virus, as they always are, and it's not under our control in terms of mutations and the third wave and so on and so forth. We normally know that pandemics run for about 2 years before they kind of burn out. So we know that at least till February 2022, irrespective of whatever happens, all the COVID appropriate behavior needs to be in place. We have sometimes challenges with the democratic process, and that's that everyone is aware of their rights, but very few people take care on their own in terms of their responsibilities. So I think it's important, at least in the educated world, that people do not self-medicate. It's about reaching out to an expert or to a doctor. Any good basic qualified doctor today is in a position to guide you as regards what is mild, moderate and severe. I think there is a lot of hysteria and panic also. All of it is not truly justified. Some of it, yes, this is a devastating pandemic worldwide. But at this point in time, I also need to add something to kind of reassure people, especially having lived through it in terms of we having continued our work at the Tata Memorial Hospital, arguably the largest and the busiest cancer hospital in this part of the world. Why do I want to say that? It's not just about cancer. There are a number of diseases, pediatric problems, cardiology or heart problems, kidney problems. We have seen that with the havoc that was caused in UK and Italy and New York last year, that not only COVID, but all other non-COVID illnesses also took a massive toll in these countries. We are a country with a large population. So when we factor in our plans for the present second wave as well as gear up for future shock, we also need to integrate and triage our services, that it doesn't happen that everyone's looking at COVID and we end up having huge problems and a massive healthcare issue when it comes to things like cancer, important or critical cardiology, nephrology, and so on and so forth. So in your question, I've tried to also address the fact that yes, do not panic, be calm. We must understand that this country has a mortality rate which continues to be amongst the lowest in the world. It's good to keep on talking and get stressed and feel terrible about the mortalities. We certainly do feel. But on the other hand, we should look at the positive side of it, that our denominator in terms of population and recoveries is also immense. The average Indian is also used to a lot of tolerance, and that's actually a way of life which is also helping us in these times.
Yes, Dr. Shekhande, that's a very positive note. And I take a lot of it, not only the positivity, but I also understand that we also have to not stop looking at all the other aspects that have to also be seen. And therefore, the next question that I asked to Mr. R.K. Mishra. Mr. Mishra, we just heard Dr. Shekhande there talk about the enormous stress also when it comes to the other things that we need to look at. Some time ago, we also heard about the frontline warriors. Today, when we were hearing court proceedings, we also heard the top court talk about how doctors also need to be a little stress-free at such a time when 11.81 lakh doses have already been given in the 18 to 44 age group. What do you feel is the most important thing that we as a nation need to look at? Of course, we're not going to be complacent. We've heard the precautions that we need to take. But other than the infrastructure that we're looking at, what is it that we need to be most mindful about?
I think in my first segment, I spoke about what infrastructure and how every state and city needs to be prepared, because even if third wave doesn't come, as a nation, we need to be prepared. It's like a disaster management plan. And COVID is a disaster, there could be some other disaster. My second part of my discussion, I want to talk about vaccination. It's very clear we cannot vaccinate the whole of our country. At least remove the people below 18, we still will have close to 900 million people who need to be vaccinated. And the current rate of production, whatever we do, will take a year and a half, if not less. Now, how do we make sure that we vaccinate most appropriately and most effectively? For example, big cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, they all have these multi-stories, anywhere between 5 stories to 50-story buildings. Their elevators are almost like the corona chambers. Now, these are the kind of buildings. Of course, government has said vaccinate 18 to 45, which is fine. Now, how do you prioritize within 18 to 45? Who are the people who are most vulnerable? And by vaccinating them, you are going to get maximum bang for the buck. I think you need to prioritize and run the massive camps. So these mega apartment complexes, which are multi-storied buildings, there the government and the private sector put together, because 18 to 45 primarily will fall on the private sector. I think after May 20th, what I understand from our friends in Pune and some other places, vaccine availability will be very good. I think government should nudge and promote mass vaccination at these highly concentrated places of living, which are apartments, which are slums, which are the places where people of lower economic strata stay, because they are much more in close proximity. Because these are not the first people who will go for vaccination, but these are the people who are most vulnerable, both of getting infected and spreading the infection. So unless there is a policy on How do you vaccinate? There has to be a vaccination strategy and plan. Of course, there's one strategy that, okay, everyone registers on COVID. How many of our people who work in our places or people who do not understand are going to be able to register? They cannot. So what you need to do is you have to create these mass vaccination camps in the areas where people on their own will not register, then apartment complexes, then frontline workers, the teachers, the students, wherever you can see potential congregation of people, they need to vaccinate. Second most important point is we need to follow what happens after the vaccination. Nobody knows. Even places like US and all, they're very little known what happens after the vaccination. In our country, we are getting the cases, people are getting sick after the vaccination, which is expected. But to what degree? Are there certain, because this vaccination has happened, this vaccine has come with almost a record time with least amount of data post-vaccination. We understood the efficacy, but efficacy is that, okay, it will control to an extent. But what happens after 3 months, what happens after 6 months, what happens after 9 months? That kind of data management, which I think our scientists need to do it, our virologists need to do it. If we don't do it, and there will be a third wave, there could be fourth wave, fifth wave, who knows? Or there could be a totally new virus. If we are not prepared, I think India as a nation, we have the capacity to lead the world. Like we have led in pharma, we have led in IT. In fact, we can lead in managing the pandemic. We have the resources, we have the knowledge base, and we have the manufacturing capability. In fact, we were the vaccine. In fact, I was very proud to tell my Japanese friends that you don't even produce vaccine. We send vaccine to Canada. But we just absolutely kind of kept our eye off the ball, and we are in this situation. But the lesson to be learned that we should not only take care of ourselves, and I don't agree with people who say why India exported when we needed it. The countries which can't produce, they need somebody. Not everybody is India, not everybody is America. Humanity is one big family. We can't say that, of course it's nice that first you put off fire in your house, then worry about the neighbor. But then that time there was no fire. We didn't know, but now we know. So these are the things I think we will fix. I know we are very good at working during the crisis, but we are very poor in following up after the crisis. And I think all the doctors will agree with me here. If you don't follow after the crisis will repeat. And I think we should avoid it.
Yes, that's very well put, and that's something we always need to take into consideration, and that is something that is the way ahead. Dr. Karan Madan, taking from that, I also wanted to ask you, we have some vaccines with us. A lot of things are being said about a uniform vaccine strategy, whether it's about the price that we give it to the people or whether it's about how we take it. And a prominent point that has also been raised is, what about the age group of below 18? What should the way forward be about how they will be vaccinated, and how soon is that possible?
So see, that's an important question. There is some concern that if possibly there's a third wave or there is more cases, then probably there's a risk of more infections in children. That said, as you see, most of the data still says that the disease is predominantly more severe in adults and relatively milder in children, though there are some reports of some delayed complications which can happen. So work on pediatric vaccination, I think, is underway in countries like US, in which the 12 to 18 age group has been started to be studied. But I think in our setting, the major chunk of the population which needs a vaccine should get it first, and that is very important. Now, I would also like to get a few more important points together on the comments made by my previous panelists. One thing we have to understand, that even if we vaccinate a lot of our population, herd immunity is unrealistic. In settings like US also, in which they have vaccinated so many people, they have admitted that herd immunity is unrealistic because there are a lot of issues, the variants appearing, vaccine hesitancy, and the sheer magnitude of our population. So I think the COVID appropriate behavior has to continue. Another comment about the mask is that, to an extent, we have some data that double masking is probably little beneficial. Now, that is important if you are using a surgical mask and if you wear a cloth mask over it. Double masking is not required if somebody is wearing an N95 mask. So if you add on a cloth mask over a surgical mask, you probably add on a 20 to 30% reduced risk of inhaling the particle. And now that we know that the most important route through which the coronavirus would enter is an airborne route, that when you are going to inhale it. On the treatment aspect, one thing you highlighted was very, very important. One has to remember that this disease has taught us the right time for right medicine for right person. Now, it is very important that you say you get a report that I'm COVID positive, you start taking all the medicine which are written in the book. So you have to understand that early in the course of the disease, you don't have to take steroids on day one. So you are going to increase risk of complications. So you always get in touch with your doctor, you identify which stage of the disease you are in, so you can take the right medicine. And one very important point was made by Dr. Srikhande, was that once we end up into these massive waves of COVID, the large chunk of people who have non-COVID diseases actually bear the brunt. So, somebody who has some other disease, cancer-related, other diseases. So I think once we will keep our numbers in control, the care of the whole population will be, taken care of. So I think vaccination and COVID-appropriate behavior are way forward. For children, I think it's some time before the vaccination would be taking place, I think.
Absolutely, Dr. Madan. That is something we will have to then see. It started in the US. Dr. Srikhande, I have 2 more minutes of the debate and I want to come to you. You said something about this possibly getting better Feb 2022. In an average, if you were to take, what is your guess? Because you had said that possibly this could continue till February 2022. So a lot of people who I'm speaking to already asking, what is your guess on that, Dr. Srikhande?
So I think my guess is as good as yours. Though I happen to be a doctor, that doesn't mean that we really understand this disease, and I'm certainly not a virologist, nor am I an epidemiologist. I'm a cancer surgeon who deals with a fair bit of COVID, and of course I'm a doctor, so I'm aware as to what's happening in this pandemic. They say historically, and this is a once in a lifetime or once in a century kind of an event, that it normally takes about 2 years for such kinds of viruses to kind of lose its sting. I'm not saying that they are going to go away. I'm going to say that they are very much going to be there in the world of viruses. But the kind of sting that it has had since last year, that will start to wean off, hopefully, by the middle or towards the latter half of this year. That doesn't mean that we can do what we want and then it will just go off. This entire panel throughout has been consistent about some clear messages. Aggressive and focused vaccination, a very well planned out and thought out strategy to ensure that we get enough vaccines in place. We try to bolster our infrastructure, which has always been a problem for a country of 1.3 billion, and this is not going to be easy for anyone. Even well-established systems like Italy and UK fell apart. So this is not going to be easy, but we need to be aware of that. Obviously, prevention is better than cure, and so the 3 basic things will always continue. So I would feel that we would need to do all this very rigidly and very focused at least till February 2022, since you asked my guess. And I think one can look forward to life coming back to fairly normal by the middle of next year, if not the early part of next year, provided we are better prepared in handling the rest of this year.
Yes, absolutely, and that is something we're all going to be. So as all our doctors are telling us, viewers, what we need to take a look at is get vaccinated. Dr. Madan said, wear your 2 masks. Our guests have told us our infrastructure has to be better. That is, as Dr. Srikhande is telling us, there is only hope, and hope is the way ahead. I want to end by not only thanking all our panelists, but also by giving some positive news. The world's largest cargo plane has left United Kingdom with 3 oxygen units for India. So as the world help continues to come for us, as we continue to help ourselves, as the Air Force, Navy, everyone, our forces are united for us. The only way ahead is to win, and that India shall. I thank all of you, our frontline warriors, our doctors, for being with us, taking out precious time to give us this advice, and India shall battle on very, very positively. Thank you for being with us this evening.